The Council of Trent, 22nd Session, the 17th of September 1562. Chapter 8. On not celebrating the Mass everywhere in the vulgar tongue. The mysteries of the Mass to be explained to the people. Although the Mass contains great instruction for the faithful people, nevertheless, it has not seemed expedient to the Fathers, that it should be everywhere celebrated in the vulgar tongue. Wherefore, the ancient usage of each church, and the rite approved of by the Holy Roman Church, the mother and mistress of all churches, being in each place retained. And, that the sheep of Christ may not suffer hunger, nor the little ones ask for bread, and there be none to break it unto them, the Holy Synod charges pastors, and all who have the cure of souls, that they frequently, during the celebration of Mass, expound either by themselves, or others, some portion of those things which are read at Mass, and that, amongst the rest, they explain some mystery of this most holy sacrifice, especially on the Lord's days and festivals. Chapter 9. Preliminary remark on the following canons. And because that many errors are at this time disseminated and many things are taught and maintained by diverse persons, in opposition to this ancient faith, which is based on the sacred gospel, the traditions of the apostles, and the doctrine of the Holy Fathers, the Sacred and Holy Synod, after many and grave deliberations maturely had touching these matters, has resolved, with the unanimous consent of all the Fathers, to condemn, and to eliminate from Holy Church, by means of the canons subjoined, whatsoever is opposed to this most pure faith and sacred doctrine. On the sacrifice of the Mass. Canon 1. If anyone saith, that in the Mass a true and proper sacrifice is not offered to God, or, that to be offered is nothing else but that Christ is given us to eat, let him be anathema. Canon 2. If anyone saith, that by those words, do this for the commemoration of me, Luke 19, Christ did not institute the apostles priests, or, did not ordain that they, and other priests should offer his own body and blood, let him be anathema. Canon 3. If anyone saith, that the sacrifice of the Mass is only a sacrifice of praise and of thanksgiving, or, that it is a bare commemoration of the sacrifice consummated on the cross, but not a propitiatory sacrifice, or, that it profits him only who receives, and that it ought not to be offered for the living and the dead for sins, pains, satisfactions, and other necessities, let him be anathema. Canon 4. If anyone saith, that, by the sacrifice of the Mass, a blasphemy is cast upon the most holy sacrifice of Christ consummated on the cross, or, that it is thereby derogated from, let him be anathema. Canon 5. If anyone saith, that it is an imposture to celebrate Masses in honor of the saints, and for obtaining their intercession with God, as the Church intends, let him be anathema. Canon 6. If anyone saith, that the canon of the Mass contains errors, and is therefore to be abrogated, let him be anathema. Canon 7. If anyone saith, that the ceremonies, vestments, and outward signs, which the Catholic Church makes use of in the celebration of Masses, are incentives to impiety, rather than offices of piety, let him be anathema. Canon 8. If anyone saith, that Masses, wherein the priest alone communicates sacramentally, are unlawful, and are, therefore, to be abrogated, let him be anathema. Canon 9. If anyone saith, that the rite of the Roman Church, according to which a part of the canon and the words of consecration are pronounced in a low tone, is to be condemned, or, that the Mass ought to be celebrated in the vulgar tongue only, or, that water ought not to be mixed with the wine that is to be offered in the chalice, for that it is contrary to the institution of Christ, let him be anathema. Decree concerning the things to be observed, and to be avoided, in the celebration of Mass. What great care is to be taken, that the sacred and holy sacrifice of the Mass be celebrated with all religious service and veneration, each one may easily imagine, who considers, that, in Holy Writ, he is called accursed, who doth the work of God negligently. And if we must needs confess, that no other work can be performed by the faithful so holy and divine as this tremendous mystery itself, wherein that life-giving victim, by which we were reconciled to the Father, is daily immolated on the altar by priests, it is also sufficiently clear, that all industry and diligence is to be applied to this end, that it be performed with the greatest possible inward cleanness and purity of heart, an outward show of devotion and piety. Whereas, therefore, either through the wickedness of the times, or through the carelessness and corruption of men, many things seem already to have crept in, which are alien from the dignity of so great a sacrifice, to the end that the honor and cult doth may, for the glory of God and the edification of the faithful people, be restored. The Holy Synod decrees, that the ordinary bishops of places shall take diligent care, and be bound to prohibit and abolish all those things which either covetousness, which is a serving of idols, or irreverence, which can hardly be separated from impiety, or superstition, which is a false imitation of true piety, may have introduced. And that many things may be comprised in the few words. First, as relates to covetousness, they shall wholly prohibit all manner of conditions and bargains for recompenses, and whatsoever is given for the celebration of new masses, as also those importunate and illiberal demands, rather than requests, for alms, and other things of the like sort, which are but little removed from a simonical taint, or at all events, from filthy lucre. In the next place, that irreverence may be avoided, each, in his own diocese, shall forbid that any wandering or unknown priest be allowed to celebrate Mass. Furthermore, they shall not allow anyone who is publicly and notoriously stained with crime, either to minister at the holy altar, or to assist at the sacred services. Nor shall they suffer the holy sacrifice to be celebrated, either by any seculars or regulars whatsoever, in private houses, or, at all, out of the church, and those oratories which are dedicated solely to divine worship, and which are to be designated and visited by the said ordinaries. And not then, unless those who are present shall have first shown, by their decently composed outward appearance, that they are there not in body only, but also in mind and devout affection of heart. They shall also banish from churches all those kinds of music, in which, whether by the organ, or in the singing, there is mixed up anything lascivious or impure, as also all secular actions, vain and therefore profane conversations, all walking about, noise, and clamor, that so the house of God may be seen to be, and may be called, truly a house of prayer. Lastly, that no room may be left for superstition. They shall by ordinance, and under given penalties, provide, that priests do not celebrate at other than due hours, nor employ other rites, or other ceremonies and prayers, in the celebration of masses, besides those which have been approved of by the Church, and have been received by a frequent and praiseworthy usage. They shall wholly banish from the Church the observance of a fixed number of certain masses and of candles, as being the invention of superstitious worship, rather than of true religion. And they shall instruct the people, what is, and whence especially is derived, the fruit so precious and heavenly of this most holy sacrifice. They shall also admonish their people to repair frequently to their own parish churches, at least on the Lord's days and the greater festivals. All, therefore, that has been briefly enumerated, is in such wise propounded to all ordinaries of places, as that, by the power given them by this sacred and holy synod, and even as delegates of the Apostolic See, they may prohibit, ordain, reform, and establish, not only the things aforesaid, but also whatsoever else shall seem to them to have relation hereunto, and may compel the faithful people inviolably to observe them, by ecclesiastical censures and other penalties, which at their pleasure they may appoint. Any privileges, exemptions, appeals, and customs whatsoever, to the contrary notwithstanding,